Welcome back, rugby mates. It is the review of the 2025 Six Nations. We are going to go through each and every game individually. Yep. We're going to start with Cardiff, where we were Greens. Before we get into it, I blooming love Cardiff. Match day, what a place to be.
Incredible. Atmosphere, people, bars. I was down there the night before. It was busy in town on Friday night. Noise, expectation, hope from both teams, from both sets of supporters. Incredible anthems, light display. Had everything except a Welsh performance. And we can assess what level of 68-14 was England's brilliance and what level of performance was ineptitude for 14 points.
Yeah, well, let's get into sort of the way I was feeling pre-game. I mean, I think, like a lot of England fans, was just nervous. You look at the history of us going down there, tough place to win, changes had been made.
Wales had some intent, they'd gone well against Ireland, they'd scored 20-odd points against Scotland in the second half, and but for a contentious decision whether Blair Murray jumps out of a tackle or not, they might have been within 5 when Faletau's try was disallowed. Absolutely, and we spoke about there are some young kids in that Welsh team who want to play. Rogers missed out, but Roberts, Thomas, Blair Murray at the back. They've got pace with Thomas Williams at 9. There was a lot to like about on paper, but we forgot one thing. In a playground, a big kid beats up a little kid. And that's what it was. It was just an atomisation, decimation. It absolutely destroyed them physically. And we can get into all sorts of detail. I mean, one of the big things, when you know you're winning contacts, you're running inside shoulder carries and making busts. More often than not nowadays, you run to an outside shoulder to keep a jackler out of it. Because if a contact is level and you run at an inside shoulder, you're really close to the inside guy, just bending his hips in half and bang, straight in over the ball. So you tend to carry to outside shoulder, protect the ball, push to the outside. England were just going, we're going to take your inside shoulders all day, bang, which then narrowed up the Welsh defence. Had nowhere to go. I've got about a sort of 10, 11 point discussion. Topics that I want to sort of fly through potentially to understand where England were awesome. Should we fly through that?
Yeah, let's get into it.
Selection, risk. We talked about it. Risk reward. Play big, Steve Borthwick. Don't be afraid of losing. And we've heard that over a year and a half, and they've never quite fulfilled on it. On this occasion, they played big, and a variety of different ways you can look at that when we scored our penultimate try, you could have run the clock down and said that's it and been happy with 61-14, but the bench wanted a piece of the action. And that's statement, that's competition for places, that's where beyond the weekend England have an amplifier effect from that, because the lads in the 20s, Pollock's had a sniff. Oh, maybe I'm next kid off the rank in the 20s is thinking I'm up next. Roebuck's come from nowhere, so people who are playing in the Premiership, just get me in. And those that got picked to start go, hey, he's not afraid to change this up and put 3 fly halves in the back line, go 6-2 split. I got to go back and do my extras.
Yeah.
And this internal competition that pushes top players to be on their toes, to understand they're not afraid to change a winning team.
Just a quick one on the selection.
Huge intent.
Just a quick one on the selection, just following up, because last week you spoke about, the risk there and the fact that there were a couple of players we really didn't want to lose, and we lost them.
Yeah.
Right, we lost Chesham.
Yes.
62 minutes. We've got
he plays in the second row.
Exactly, and Freeman as well, not quite as long, but again, probably one of the players that we don't really want to lose. And I think that from my perspective, that was one of the most impressive things, was the way we adapted. Or do we think that actually...
Slight caveat, going back to what level of it was England being awesome and where... Right. So the scrum was so powerful that you can throw in a part-time second row and Will Stewart, and Ellis Genge. I think you picked it up I watched it a couple of times since. I think Wales get free kicked for going early, and Genge stands up from the scrum. I thought you were tired. Don't you want to scrum? What's wrong with you? literally to his opposite man. What's wrong with you? You're a tight head prop. You should be embarrassed. And those sorts of little moments. There was some fortune in the game. We had 2 headers. Yes. Dan Burns scores for Newcastle, wins the first trophy, and Chris Martin's singing about him on stage on Sunday night at their global concert because they've won their first trophy for 70 years.
Yeah.
And bang, Genge's got one nod through, and Will Stewart scores, and Daly gets one through, and he scores. I don't want to look at refereeing decisions, but the first pass from Finn Smith to Roebuck is 2.5 yards forward. Blair Murray could have had a hat-trick. Even with that, I was explaining to my missus last night that you only get those calls and you only get this sort of result if you twist. We had 6 entries into the Welsh 22 the first half, 33 points. We had 6 entries into the Welsh 22 in the second half. We got 35 points.
The thing for me around this game was the mentality to play.
Yeah.
And the accuracy alongside that mentality was the real big difference. I mean, when we kicked with so much purpose. I mean, I'm going to pick up one moment which I thought almost summarised it. George Ford comes on and puts an up and under, in there almost on the 22.
Yeah.
And I didn't mind it at all because it was accurate, it was precise, it was well thought through, and I thought, no, that's all right. We don't mind that. Maybe because we're 60 points up as well, but
yeah,
my point is
totally.
The mentality just felt completely different with this side.
And George has the confidence he thinks Robert's going to catch it. I still argue. I mean, Wales are chasing shadows.
Yeah.
Why give him a chance of the kick going 2 metres too deep?
Yeah.
You're like, oh, you're a tough judge. But I just go, we're 50 odd points up. Why are you kicking it in there half? Now, we want it back. I get it. But why? Anyway, what else did I want to pick up? And it's sort of in terms of intent. Score's 14-0. This is massive for me. And we get a turner up the right-hand side and we move it left. Freeman carries a little bit too far. Tom Curry spills it. And Mee gets his boot to it. Doesn't get it. Finn Smith, he watches the ball roll into touch. He's trying to come. He turns. Hey, what are you... I love that.
Yeah.
Because that to me is disagreeing agreeably. This is his team now.
Yeah.
Just in that moment, you just see a fly half. And I remember I played with players and you made errors and sometimes you carry on and no one says anything or don't worry. I might make the error again 5 minutes later. You turn around and someone's on your case. I think he was having a pop at Freeman for squeezing Dingwall out. I think he said, I couldn't quite pick it up on it. I think he'd give it Dingwall because he wanted the ball in Dingwall's hand and Freeman had just... But actually it was less about the detail, but it was more the turn and the ferocious clap of the hands and the demanding of levels of performance. And you can hear it in interviews after the game and it's... you would say that. But to see it so positively reinforced on the field, I love that. Itoje is Roy Keane. So he gives free kicks away. He gives penalties away. He gave 3 penalties away. To others, you might go 3 penalties in one game's too many. At no stage do I think Itoje is not disciplined because of the amount of turnovers, the lineouts, the mauls he stops.
Just linking Itoje to an obvious character from your era, how much of a comparison is Jono with Itoje at the moment? Obviously same position, but it's just that no backward step. It feels like
the best compliment I could give him, I think, the lads who play in this England team. You might be away and on the road somewhere, and you're looking around, and you're sort of looking in your kit bag, looking for hoping there's a pill that says courage or toughen up, and you want to have I need a can of toughen up here because
you're just talking about your career.
We're in the wrong place, man. Have you seen us in the opposite shape? You sort of have your quick can of toughen up, and you look round, and there are just certain players you see in the change room, and you go, stick the can back, don't take the lid off. I don't need any toughen up. I want to enjoy this because I've got him on my team. And he's one of those. Defence, Joel Abd. Again, the moments Wales did score 2, but I was the seat I had this week was behind the post. You see everything. A couple of times where I thought gaps are a little wide. Wales did create chances. Ellis Mee should have had a sort of softer offload to Wainwright, and I know Thomas nipped in for 2 of the gaps, but by and large, every time Wales looked up, they looked pretty when they had that period of possession. They did for 15, 20 minutes in the second half, but I think the work that Joel Ab's done, again, it'll be tested against better opposition, but I was behind the post and I thought, if I'm Welsh 12 now, I'm unsure where I'm breaking them down, which is a massive, massive step forward.
Quick one on that defence, because we were both pretty critical of the defence in autumn internationals. I mean,
They biffed off a system that didn't suit them.
Right. So in terms of the greatest improvement, perhaps in areas of play, I mean, I would argue that it is England defensively.
It's a strategic decision, less of a tweak.
Right.
And go midfield scrum. Let's have scrum half defending, first man. Right. Less of a tweak.
Yeah.
Much more of an overriding strategy that we're not blitzing.
Yeah.
That we're not coming out to win, and we're not just pressing even on transition. Just actually, what's the threat? How many have they got? What do I need to do? I've got 16 metres till my try line. I don't need to press here. And that autonomy, that ownership for the players, as opposed to we go no matter what, which was exposing players.
By the way, is that information that you know from coaches or just what you see?
No, I saw watch.
It's just you're seeing that, and that is clearly the decisions that have been made strategically.
There's certain times, even at 52, you think, I reckon I might have nipped in for one against Wales in the last 20 if you'd given me a roving role at 52, that sort of thing. And I was watching England in the autumn, and I was thinking, I might not go 60 metres, but I'd have a pop at them on the short side.
England?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Give me half decent 10 and half decent 11. I'll do this lot. I don't know, that's like what an arrogant thing to say, but I'm always watching. I love football. How would I break them down?
Yeah.
By the way, just as a cameo, you give George Ford front foot. He's as close to the best fly half England have ever had. And I put Wilkinson in that. His ability to go to the line and make the right pass, the inside ball for Pollock, the long ball. In fact, he had 2 assists for Pollock, didn't he? The hard bit is identifying it. It's actually an easy pass. The guy's not going for the intercept. He's sat square. He's unsure what he's doing. He just fizz it across his hooter. Break down. Make tackles. Get on your feet. Get back in the line. And it's almost like, a captain comes out and gives you a badge and you've got a special pass today. You're allowed to go at the breakdown. And it's like they've identified the 2 Currys and Earl and probably a Toje and just said, if you think it's on, get in. Everyone else, hit and get back up in the line. And that helped Joel Ab's defence. It's all linked in.
Quick one on the stats around the turnovers. England have topped the charts, for jackals.
And there were a couple extraordinary. Curry makes a side-on tackle, sort of throws his legs back round to come back in through the gate. Bang, one hand up, lift. You're like,
they were both phenomenal.
Unbelievable. And first line out, Wales had, after no territory, no possession, you think, finally, they've got a chance. They go off the top, they go into the middle, Ben Earl. No, you haven't. I'll have that. Yeah. So England's ability to turn over ball, allied with the fact that almost at will, that if Wales got territory or a line out or a scrum, England would just say, we'll have that, thanks. We'll have a scrum pen or we'll nick your line out.
Yeah.
Which means there was very, very little Welsh fans could do but watch their team just disappear. And we scored 4 tries in the last 15 minutes. And I know they were chasing it, which you sort of have to for self-respect. You can't just, at 54-14, stop playing and boot it. You've got to keep playing. And they kept playing, and England were like, yeah, you keep playing because you're just going nowhere. It was scoring at will. So I think I've covered most of the things. The headlines were, you only get 5s when you're on 16 by twisting and risking going bust. And that's what England did. The Finn Smith, his team moment as the 10, as the tank driver, which is what we used to call our 10, moving the giant forwards around the field and then releasing the weapons outside. That Finn Smith moment and accuracy and execution, 12 visits, 10 tries.
Yeah.
Special. 2, but, you wanted the ref to throw the towel in. That's not what you go to Cardiff for, is it?
No.
I know. From extraordinary, but for a neutral, you'd have switched off.
I found myself sitting in the stand at the start
Feeling
of the game.
sorry.
At the start of the game, packed. I watched the last 5 minutes on my own in a cavernous stadium. Everyone had left. Everyone leaving early. Swing low ringing around the Principality. I mean, I just did not envisage that for one moment. But just a question for you. So, given how tough a place it is to go,
Used to be to go. Remember, they've lost 17 on the trot.
Okay.
You cannot now say it's a tough place to go.
Do you know what? Always quite tough for England. It's always been quite tough for England, right? I mean, maybe, obviously, you scored a hat-trick there, but since then, it's been a pretty tough place to go. Is it going to be one of those performances that we can look back on and go, yeah, I was there? Or not? It felt like it. I was sitting there sort of contemplating that after the game, and I thought that might be.
Often with those sorts of things, you go, and what happens next? And if what happens next is epic, you go, that was the moment.
Yeah.
Your levels now can't drop.
Yeah.
What's exciting for these lads now is they've moved the bar and we now judge them.
By the way, I'm just gutted we've not got another game next week. You know, it feels like we've built rapidly and you just want to see him play next week.
And with Lions, half of them will go away, but a chance for lads in Argentina.
Yeah.
And the big one for me in the diary, I know we're playing Australia on November the 1st, but we've got New Zealand on November the 8th. Already inked in. Can we do that against them as opposed to a team who've won back-to-back wooden spoons?
Yeah.
But in the meantime, everything we wanted.
It really was.
Yeah.
It was a real joy. It was a real joy to be there. Right, let's get into the champions of the tournament, the French, against the Scots. It was classic Scotland, wasn't it? They were playing some beautiful rugby. Really felt like there was a half a chance.
And they score. Tom Jordan scores, and that dreaded moment. You know, but the telltale sign now is the ref will be waiting for a conversion, and normally it's to the side, and he'll just step in front of the ball. Russell's about to bang it over, go in at half time. French rattled. You just go, oh no, that moment. So for 50 or 60 minutes, again, brilliant. Russell was at his most... I don't think you can be at your enigmatic best. Some of the things he does. But then, I mean, at 16, it forced it. And actually, I still have him, and we're going to talk about it later, I still have him as my Lions starting 10.
Yeah, it's interesting that.
Where he's got his risk-reward back under control and was brilliant in 24, just got his barometer of risk-reward just slightly skewed too much in the risk category. But again, it's like telling an alcoholic not to drink or a gambler not to have a punt. It's like if he sees it, he's throwing it, and that's what makes him. He twists on 17.
Yeah. You said something to me when we were watching the game, actually, Greens, that was quite revealing for me, because I looked at you and it was that moment, you know, where the inside ball hadn't worked and the French go up the other end and score. And you just said, yeah, but Campo, they wouldn't be where they are at the moment if it wasn't for Russell playing the way he plays. Like, you've got to accept that. And that's just what you have to do.
Yeah,
I think that...
I dropped a WhatsApp. I watched it again, not in Cardiff and not after a couple of pints. And I sort of stopped it after 45 minutes and I sent a note to Gregor going, he's just got his risk reward wrong. And then I press play, and a second later he runs an out the back loop play, goes 40 metres, and I go, but I quickly edited it and went, but then the next one he dropped, and I go, no, I've got to stick with it. He's a magician.
Yeah, and I agree.
And it's one of those ones, I want people to pick people and love people for what they can do.
Yeah. Listen,
not for what they can't do.
Look,
and he is a joke when it comes to
I'm totally with you, but
ability to ruin a defence.
I'm totally with you. I am the biggest Finn Russell fan, but
you're not going to pick him.
No, let's get into it right now, okay?
Scotland.
Because here's my thing with Finn Russell is that I watch him. He's glorious to watch in attack. Absolutely glorious. My problem with him is not actually that risk reward. It's around precision on his kicking.
Oh, by the way, just after I'd sent that text, he then missed touch from a pen.
Yeah.
And you go, what are you doing? But a bit like Anscombe did. So I know we're going back to the wrong game. Wales had no territory at all, and they finally get a penalty.
And he kicks it dead.
It dead. You're going.
Mate, this
Bob Dwyer would have subbed him off.
Yeah, but listen, this thing with Russell, right? He's done it too much during this tournament for me. Just too much kicking out of hand, and it's not just.
But he'll have Sheehan, he'll have Itoje in the pack in front of him. So he might still have Jones, he might still have Dewan. You equip Russell with the right tools, and you can take the Test series away from Australia.
I hear you. I think that some of the things that he does with the kicking is totally unrelated to what's going on around him. There's such a specific skill, and I think that you.
Whereas Finn Smith is so good at it.
Finn Smith and Prendergast, actually.
Yeah.
You don't see the duck hook. You don't, and I just think that Russell has done it too much for me, and I think he is an absolutely epic player, but. It depends what you want.
I know, I see it. I'm not going to stop being a Scotland fan because the way they play and the mindset. No. And they might lose some, but I always judge a team by, would I like to play in it? And you just go, yeah, I'd like to play in that Scotland team.
Yeah.
I'd like to play outside Russell and have King on in the outside channel. So if I got in trouble, you have it. Or whatever. So it's frustrating. We haven't really focused much on France. Big discoveries. This year, Gross isn't a discovery, as Lou said, but he's probably the best Lou said in the tournament. Even I know he got a yellow on Saturday. Guyard, what an athlete in the second row. Boudouin has been magnificent. I'm trying to pick out the names. You know the old Ritz and the Duponts.
Yeah.
Boudouin. Luku's now played 27, won 26. The only game he's lost is away in Ireland, when Ireland won a Grand Slam. You're like, give the kid a break. Played 27, won 26. Out wide, BLBRE, he's not a discovery, but he's 21 years old and he's scored like 19 tries, scored 8 in the tournament, matched, I think, Ian Smith from 1921.
Yeah, he's equaled the record, isn't he? Yeah.
Or he might have even got to 9, but he's got a lot.
Player of the tournament, he's got to be, hasn't he?
Talked about Luku. Player of the tournament? Oh, great question.
It has to be LBB, surely.
Yeah, with 8, good point. Good point, well made.
But actually, just on him, I think he's a lot more than just wheels. And his defensive decisions are sensational. I've watched it, and it's not just the weight of his tackle for a slight man; it's his decision making around when to pick the moment. And I think he's got it right pretty much every game I've seen. Yeah,
as he said, I think commentary Benjamin Casey would say, "Look, if you get a turnover, just look for the bloke in the red scrum up and give it him."
Yeah,
he's going 80, and it happened again. But Ontomat picks up, and he's never going 70 metres.
Yeah,
and Go Gadget Legs comes up alongside him and just. And even at the end, Kinghorn's thinking, "Can I keep him from going under the post?" And he puts in an extra spurt, and Bealberry goes from second to third gear and just goes, "Are you trying to stop me going under the post? Don't be daft. This is my stadium."
Yeah.
And Kinghorn's quick.
Just going back to. France and the defence, because I've spoken about it, I think, in every episode of the pod. I think they've been magnificent in defence, and Sean Edwards. Yeah. Would you put him down as the greatest Six Nations coach? Certainly the bloke that's won the most, right? He's won six titles. Greatest Six Nations
assistant coach?
Well, okay, yeah, assistant coach, but being part of winning teams.
Incredible. By the way, he's savvy, Sean, as well. He knows who to talk to and what to go into the press at what time. I think he's got quite a good contract in France for quite a few years.
Yeah.
There's always that classic in football. It's changed a little bit now, where Beckham would go on holiday to Madrid and get spotted in a Madrid restaurant, and then United give him another 5-year contract. And Austin was always talking about it. He did it once. Then they were talking about it, and he went to Toulouse for a weekend. And Leicester gave him like a 5-year deal and the keys to the city. So very odd. So in amongst it all, and by the way, we love Sean. He came and did some School of Hard Knocks, and I think he's magic. And I keep in touch with him very briefly now and again, just to tell him how bloody awesome he is. But
he is, isn't he?
Oh yeah, but he don't want violins about the fact that he hasn't worked for England just yet. I think he's quietly gone. I'm quite happy.
Do you think they'll get him in the end?
He'd be like Yoda. when we get him. We're 104 by the time his French
Oh, yeah.
contract goes. He's not leaving France before the next World Cup,
No.
is he? He's not going anywhere. He's staying with that French team, and he's going to Australia in 2027. He's just the kahuna burger of coaches and players.
Yeah.
He's got them caring about D. They never cared. It was...
Right.
They were the Kevin Keegan. You can score 5, but we're going to score 8. They were and still are the magician, but they never really cared about when they didn't have the ball.
Yeah.
And he's got them caring, which makes them...
And they've got the most miserly defence, right?
Yeah.
Least tries scored against them. I think I'm right in saying that, producer Ollie.
Yeah.
I think I'm right.
And they then scored, I think they beat our record from 2001 for most tries in the Championship. I think they did it by 1. Don't think they did us for points. I think Wilco scored 170 points kicking or something like that. I mean, 0-1 we scored a lot. Yeah. So they were... I think, and we go back to bonus points, I think it works out right. France had 21, England had 20, Ireland had 19, and you sort of feel that's about right.
Yeah, it was about right, wasn't it? And by the way, you picked it. You picked France as the winners.
And no Grand Slam.
And no Grand Slam. The only thing you got wrong is you flipped it last minute in terms of the Ireland-France game.
Which game they'd lose.
You always said, you started the tournament, you said France will beat Ireland, and then you flipped it on the morning of the game.
Never change your mind on a penalty. Run up and don't do what the keepers do. Just pick a spot and hit it.
Yeah. Other than that, a pretty solid tournament, I would say. Italy-Ireland, yeah. Well, let's start with Ireland because, the wind was taken out of their sails in Dublin by France, and they've just spluttered a little bit against Italy, would be my sort of...
Perfect analogy. It's not just that they spluttered. I thought Italy clattered into them.
Yeah.
Brex and Menoncello were flying about, melting people. Very physical. The pack were flying around, having a pop, and it was only a daft yellow card from Lamara.
That yellow card is a coach killer, isn't it?
Yeah, that let Ireland go into the lead, into half-time in the lead. But anyway, the clattering has an impact on Ireland and impacts how they play, but also the mindset. So it's a combination of Italy clattering them and Ireland just going, can we just get the bonus point? Can we just get to 19 points? Do our job, post it. We're gutted about what happened last week. We can't win the championship. The results aren't going to go away. Let's do this merry dance and get it over. And that sort of showed up in their play. Spilling balls, poor passes, lost the ball in contact. No threat for 20 minutes. Not just in attack, but in defence. They were just off. And Italy are now good enough that if you are just off, they'll take advantage of it. And at 22-17, I mean, the final whistle goes, relief.
Yeah, huge.
Was everything. And they had 2 half chances late on, but couldn't quite take them. And I put nothing more than job done for Ireland. A lot of them will be hoping that they just got enough credit. And they have, a lot of them, by the way, have got enough credit with Farrell that they'll still go. But the last 2 weeks, once they lost the chance really of 3 in a row and another Grand Slam, understandably, when you've been at that level of performance for so long and you get that level of disappointment, I defy you not to have a natural dip in energy and form.
Yeah, okay. Right, what I'd like us to do now, Greens, just before we leave the Six Nations tournament is, well, firstly, I'd love a synopsis from you as to, we say in rugby that it's the greatest tournament.
Yeah.
Do you think it's lived up to its billing this 2025 season?
Yeah, I think so. I really do. At the top end and the bottom end, there's intrigue, there's nations in disarray, there's teams rebuilding. Tom Harrison announced in the week 4 more years on BBC and ITV, which keeps it in the homes.
It's great news. It's great news, I think.
Unless you work for Sky.
Right,
in which case it's terrible news, but well done BBC and ITV. I wish you all the best.
One other thing, what I'd love you to do is, or us to do, is to have a little grading for all the sides, because so before we do that individually, I actually feel that in many ways, maybe excluding England, that it kind of went roundabout sort of what I thought it probably
Yeah,
would.
I think, but there's always a scale factor because I think you've got to. So I'm trying to combine effort and quality.
Yeah, okay. Well,
otherwise it's just too obvious. Otherwise you just go in order 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, and that's a bit dull.
Yeah, but we want to sort of grade them according to where we thought they might be and resources, etc. Okay, well, let's give it a go then. So let's start with the champions. Let's start with France.
And I just had 40 bad minutes at horror show in terms of handling and Ramos's kicking. But apart from that, and I know we've sort of talked about in England's rankings, the performance against Cardiff would be sort of top 10, maybe top 5, 6 nations performance over the whole 25 years, but that's just at an England level. I think the France performance against Ireland is sort of top 5 across all the countries.
Yeah, agreed. Yeah.
In the last 25 years. That's how good that was.
Yeah, agreed. Okay, 9 out of 10 for France. So England next. This is going to be an interesting one.
So I've got England and Ireland both on about a 7. Ireland just dipped. Good performance in Murrayfield. Just ran out of puff, which we've talked about understandably. I think with England, how good were they? How poor were Wales? 3 home games. 2, which whatever the current players say, 2 games at home that however much you shouldn't use the word could and should. In terms of quality of play, they weren't as good as the other team.
No, 100%.
They weren't as good as the other teams. So having taken all that into account, I think a steady 7 with an option to build. Is Scotland up there? I can't give them an 8. I give a lot of their players an 8. I can't give them as much as Ireland and England, but I want to.
Yeah.
So maybe this system's breaking down. 6 3/4. I can't quite give them there. Italy, I love it. I'm giving Italy a... I might go Italy 8.
Really? Even with that French result?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've, team in the tournament, maybe 2 or 3 lads get in. Who are they? Brex Menoncello. Tough to knock out Mofana and Hugh Jones. Negri at 6. Capawatso comes into conversations, doesn't he? You're like, well, there's a few lads coming into conversations. Yeah. Maybe it's my 6 years living in Italy, being slightly biased there. But I think that Wales is a 2. Absolute 2. It's an absolute train crash. And of all the lads I spoke to some pretty sharp, erudite people involved in Welsh rugby. And they're just desperate. I think they're desperate for a director of rugby.
Sam Warburton, who I'm a massive fan of,
everyone is.
It's a bit like the way he played rugby. He's just very accurate in terms of his assessment of things. And he presented a really clear vision for the way that he thinks it should go. And I was listening to him and I thought, do you know what? If I'm in the Welsh hierarchy, I'd get this bloke in.
Jamie Roberts is on the board. So they have got some players in Dr. Jamie Roberts. So they are there. And we've spoken about it before. I think with Ireland, was it David Nucifora who came in and changed the setup and understand how it went. I know the role in England is with Conor O'Shea.
Yes.
Now they've really got to turn their eyes and attention to understanding. Let's not worry about who we're playing in the summer tour or even this autumn. Let's worry what's the 5-10 year strategy, because I've never heard the Welsh stadium I've been a few times when they've had a kicking, so dispirited and so almost agnostic to what was happening because they knew it would happen.
Yeah. But let's just end with a little positive moment. You know what? That anthem in the build up to.
Well, we've always known they can sing.
Yeah, no, but they also had 85,000 people there.
Yeah.
Right. So the Welsh.
They do. But there's only so many. But it's England, and they get that. I don't know who they've got in the autumn, let's see if they have Japan, right?
How many people?
And more importantly, not how many people, how much can they charge? Because they've got to do that XY axis to get numbers, and how much can they charge to get people in through the door?
Just last point on this. Are you a believer in the Sam Warburton model, which is very simple, which is it has to go down to 3
I spoke to him about it. I think his article's come out 2 or 3 weeks ago, or he's reinforced that. And he's on the board at Cardiff, so I don't think it would be Cardiff that would disappear. the focus is in the wrong side. They need to get back into schools, really, where they can still be competitive and get them before they head off to different sports and put some real investment there.
Okay, right. Six Nations 2025 done. We now turn our focus to the Lions. I'm excited about this, Green. So we'll do Team of the Week first.
Yes, so we've done it every week.
We've done that every week. So we'll go.
There's a lot of English people.
Team of the Week first. So let's hear your Team of the Week.
Genge, Sheehan, Stewart, Itoje. I mean, I never thought I'd pick Chandler Cunningham South in my Team of the Week in the second row. But 2 tries and 60-odd minutes. Gilchrist was excellent in Paris. Byrne was one of the few who came out with some credit, but I've got to go Chandler Cunningham South. I might have picked the whole English back row. Jack Morgan has made it most weeks. When Tom Curry ran over him in the first minute, that dented it. That's Italy. Doris was decent. Ritchie was outstanding, but I don't know. I cannot leave Curry, the Twindaloo boys, or Ben Earl out. Mitchell I've gone with at 9.
First time you haven't picked
I picked Finn Smith.
Gibson Park.
Yeah.
In the whole tournament.
Yeah, just loose and defensively off on one occasion.
Yeah. No,
and Mitchell was, scored. His box kicks when he did kick were perfect.
Yeah.
Again, there were a couple of times, by the way, I've said it enough times, I still don't think that 9 on the edge works, no matter the fact that we won 68. He got caught a couple of times. He got run past by Falatau. He got bumped off it when Ellis Mees should have passed it to Wainwright, should have scored, and he's sort of ended up. But I've gaslighted him, haven't I? Mitchell starts this week. Finn Smith.
Yeah.
In 55 minutes.
I thought he was sensational.
I've got the midfield. Is Menoncello Welsh? No, I'll have to go. I go Dingwall and Freeman. Jordan.
So by the way, sorry, I know I'm interrupting this, but we didn't really talk about the Freeman experiment.
Went okay, man. Brilliant. Yeah, scored 5 in the tournament.
Yeah. I mean, he's become a.
I think there's a couple of us who've scored more in the tournament, but me and Ashley didn't score 1 in each.
He's become quite totemic, I think, for England. He's almost second name on the team sheet, I think.
He's right up there, and he's a heck of a unit.
Mate, he is.
Heck of a unit. And look, I do think long term, 13 is where he'll end up.
Yeah.
We make him our Rico.
He took his try, went through those 2 Welsh defenders almost as if they weren't there. I mean, not all players would make it look that easy.
And who else? South Africa, Jesse Creel, wing 13. I'm protective of centres, but it's like have wheels in the outside break. Wings was really tough. And my back 3, I haven't picked an Englishman.
Hansen.
Yeah, he was super good. Everything that was just the pace, the intent, the floating around. And then I've done something I hate doing because I've got to get Graham in this week. So I've switched wings. I'm picking both, which is totally wrong because Graham and Hansen are both right wingers, and you might say I'm not allowed to do that. In which case, I'll pick a left wing. But if I pick a left wing, I'll pick Daly. Kinghorn's at fullback. Hansen on one wing. I'll pick Elliot Daly on the left instead of Graham. You got to be fair. You got to pick players in the positions they played this weekend, and it was that would be my 15 of the week, and it's 12 Englishmen. They haven't made many teams so far. In round 1, we didn't have one.
No, I don't think we did.
Maybe Marrow, but no, we got beat by Ireland, didn't we?
No, I
don't think we had one.
I don't think we had anyone. Right, okay, great. That's a good team of the week. So now we are going into...
There's 2 options. One, we pick the Lions squad, or one, we pick the Lions team if there's a game this week.
I think, can we try both?
Yep.
Team you would pick now if the Lions test was
MCG, Australia, here we go. Here it is. Can I go with the backs first?
Go on then.
James and Gibson Park, Ben Russell. Centres, I'm going to go Aki and Jones. And I reckon I have the tallest combined back 3 that's ever played the game of rugby.
Go on.
Dwan, Freeman and Kinghorn. Average height 6'5". Pack, I'm nailed on with Sheehan and Stewart. I'm nailed on with Itoje and Byrne. Tom Curry nailed on at 6. Doris at 8. So my 7-1 is the selection process, and there's 2 Englishmen, and an Irishman and a Welshman, and I don't pick Jack Morgan. I think Ben Earl, he's been so good across his tournament.
Yeah.
That he gets in my back row.
Van der Fleer close? He's got to be close, hasn't he, Van der Fleer?
He's going on the tour.
Yeah.
He's going on the tour. I just think he's suffered the last 2 weeks.
Yeah, okay.
And again, I'm trying not... So that's why he goes on the tour. But if there's a test match this week, there's big call.
Yeah.
And then at Loosehead, whereas I gave the nod to the Englishman at 7, I am going to pick Andrew Porter.
Yeah.
Just above Genge. I think Porter might have been in my team of the week 3 times. Genge had his best game for England against Wales.
Yeah,
his handling was good. His defence was good. Genge is on the bench, but Porter starts.
Yeah.
So if it was this week, Porter, Sheehan, Stewart, Itoje, Byrne. I'll have an argument that I've not got an out-and-out 7, but I think Curry, Earl, Doris... Curry and Earl, there's enough 7s between those two. It's 2 6.5s. Gibson, Park, Russell, Van der Merwe, Aki, Jones, Freeman, Kinghorn.
Yeah, like it. Now listen, so let's look at the differentiations between that and your starting team in Australia in 2 months' time. So where do you potentially see the changes with players that are coming in?
Then I've got to sort of talk about the squad that I'm taking.
Yeah.
Which is announced on May the 8th, I think. And the significance of May the 8th is it's 2 or 3 days after the Champions Cup semis.
Right.
So he's giving Jack Willis. I think that's where Jack Willis hasn't played in the Six Nations and goes on the tour. But my 7 props, my 3 loose heads, am I doing this or not?
Yeah.
My 3 loose heads, Porter, Genge, Schumann.
Mm-hmm.
I think if you take 7 props, you tend to take 4 tight heads. 4 tight heads, Stewart, Fagerson, Furlong, and Beelum.
Yeah.
3 hookers, Sheehan, Kelleher, Cowan, Dickey. I think
George misses out.
And Dave Cherry, who's been
very good, hasn't he?
For Scotland. 4 second rowers. No, 5 second rows it wants, doesn't it? Itoje, Byrne, Chesham, McCarthy.
Yeah.
Gilchrist.
Back
rows. How many am I allowed in the back? How many am I allowed in the back row? 7?
At least.
I'm going to name 7, even if I've added 1 too many, because if I was Andy Farrell, I'd change and take 8. Curry, Tom. Ben Earl, Doris.
Mm-hmm.
Jack Morgan.
Mm-hmm.
Jamie Ritchie.
Mm-hmm. Van der Fleer, 6.
He does get in, Van der Fleer, yeah. It's not... I've had to think about Van der Fleer, which is amazing considering... Was he World Player of the Year?
Yeah.
Amazing what 2 weeks can do to you.
Mm.
And everyone else has a storm. So Van der Fleer.
I think he's got enough credit.
And Jack Willis, who's my sort of alternative 8 to Doris. And Earl can also sit in the 8 slot.
Okay.
3 scrum halves. Gibson Park, starter, Thomas Williams, Mitchell, and Ben White, and I've left Ben White out.
Yeah.
Take Alex Mitchell and Thomas Williams. I think it has 3 fly halves, but obviously Marcus is playing at the back. Russell and Finn Smith, because of his versatility. Prendergast misses out to Marcus Smith. I'll take the 2 Smith boys, with Smith's ability to also help the squad and sort of do a Neil Jenkins or a Mike Catt.
Wow, that's interesting.
And go there. My centres, Aki, Jones, Ringrose, Tuipulotu. I think people like Furlong and Tuipulotu, if you're fit, you take them.
Yeah.
Tom Jordan's unlucky to miss out.
Really unlucky.
Dingwall's coming with a late run. And then my back 3, have I got 7? I might not be allowed 7, but I'm going to name 7. If you force me to take 1 less, I'll have to knock someone off. Dwan, Freeman, Kinghorn, Lowe, Graham, Keenan, Hansen. If I had to leave one of them out, I'd leave Hansen at home. And my right wingers would be Freeman and Graham. Freeman can cover 13. Graham, I just think's a wizard.
Yeah, so do I.
I love him.
Love that. Well, that brings Rugby Mates 2025 Six Nations Lions edition
Yes.
to an end. It's been a great pleasure, Greens. We are hoping that this podcast carries on in the build up to the Lions. I'm going to do my very best to get on the flight out to Australia.
Yeah. Well, I'll get you some tickets.
Yeah, I'm relying on you for tickets. I'll be there.
Accommodation and
enthusiastic
that sort of stuff.
You always say it.
Yeah.
Donkey from Shrek.
Yes.
Pick me.
Or angry little Mexican.
Yeah, let's go with Donkey from Shrek. And I think we're going to have a lot of fun in the build up and out in Australia. So thanks.
Captain, who's your captain?
My captain's Marrow. I think it has to be.
Last couple of weeks have been big. I'm sticking with Doris.
Are you?
Yeah. Marrow plays.
For me, I think Marrow is potentially the first name on the team sheet. And therefore, I sort of say, well, based on that, I because it is between two. It is between Doris and Marrow. I don't think there's anyone else sticking their hand up. Again, Sam Warburton seems to be a big influence on me. You go, who is the more immovable object in terms of he is first name on team sheet, and I think Marrow is.
Yeah.
And he's there.
Can't argue with that.
Yeah. But hey, that's the beauty of the Lions, isn't it? We can all have different opinions.
Yeah.
Greens, any final words as we leave?
Yeah, loved it. Look, we love our sport, right? Well, we'd watch snails race, but particularly rugby. We love watching rugby, and we seem to get where water can't. We have the eyes and ears of players and coaches. We seem to find ourselves in most stadiums, and we'd like to keep doing this. So please do like, share, subscribe. What you'd like to hear before, during, after the Lions autumn series, what we could do better. We sort of need your feedback in the like, share, subscribe as to whether or not
we carry on.
You give a rat's ass about whether we turn up again.
We'll see you next time.